What's up YouTube? Capital G here. I told you guys earlier today that the Simorgh link was absolutely amazing and that it changes everything, and now I'm going to prove it. I'm going to show you guys this card in action and how much better this deck just got. I said before, it reminds me very much of Goki, or I guess you could even say Spiral decks that could kind of put a bunch of monsters on field but didn't have anything good to go into, and then they got like that one link monster, or with Goki they got like the nightmare monsters, and it just made the deck really unlocked. I'm not saying that Simorgh is going to be tier 0 or go to that level, but now the deck actually functions and it has a win condition and it has lockdown, and the Simorgh link is just so fantastic. So he's playing against Adagnister, a deck getting a bunch of cards in Eternity Code, but Adagnister unfortunately is a combo deck, and Simorgh, if you summon the Link monster and you resolve it, they don't Ash Blossom it or something like that, you basically just win the game against all combo decks. So you guys will see he's going to open up with the Simorgh Stratos. He's going to search out pretty much their Melody of the Awakening Dragon. This is the one that pitches a Simorgh monster, and then you get to search 2 more Simorgh monsters. Generally speaking, if you pitch one of your level 4 lower monsters, it's fine. All the little Simorghs have Monster Reborns built right back into them, so you can just summon them from the graveyard. So he is going to go ahead, he's going to eventually summon that guy back from the graveyard. He activates the field spell. He's going to summon the Armageddon Knight or the Gazelle for Simorghs. This card was okay before, but now it's just ridiculous because it drops another Simorgh monster in the graveyard, and if you drop one of your little Simorghs, you just get the free Monster Reborn. So even though he only has 2 monsters on field, it's basically 4 monsters on field. He's going to Armageddon Knight the dude into the graveyard. It special summons itself. Then he special summons the one that he discarded, and this is as easy as it gets, honestly. He's going to go into Harpy Conductor. You could not, like, you can summon Harpy Conductor, you can summon Great Fly. It doesn't matter what you summon, essentially. You just have to summon a Link 2. You're trying to basically get those 2 normal summon Simorghs in the graveyard so that their Monster Reborn effects can kick in too. So they summon themselves back. Now you go for the Simorgh Link monster, set a couple of cards, and what's so good about this card is it counts your opponent's unoccupied spell and trap zones. Clearly, if you're going first, your opponent will have nothing in their back row. This means even if you had 5 spell and traps, you could still summon the Wind Barrier statue from your deck. During the end phase, he's going to go ahead and summon that Wind Barrier statue. Keep in mind, this card now, the Wind Barrier statue, cannot be targeted. So your opponent couldn't, they couldn't use Impermanence or Effect Veiler on this, but if they had Impermanence, they still couldn't use it against the Wind Barrier statue. Now the game's basically over against a combo deck. His opponent will try to search, I believe it's, I'm forgetting the name. Is it Tie Attack? Tie Strike. He's going to try to search Tie Strike. I guess he was trying to attack over the Simorgh Link, which wouldn't actually work because I guess he just doesn't realize that he could easily tribute one of these other little Simorghs to just protect it anyways, and essentially he's not going to do anything. He's just going to Icarus attack him. He does have to lose one of his cards, but don't even matter. Twin Twister during the end phase, and keep in mind, this card activates during both players' end phases. So when you keep this card up, like, the longer the game goes, the better that this card becomes. I don't understand why Konami thought that you'd ever want to link this card off the field. Like, no, you want to keep this card on the field as long as possible. He's going to summon the big level 8 from his deck. I honestly think that the dark level 8's a little better, but since he's locked into the win attribute, he's obviously not able to do that. He is going to go for this Doom Eagle. This banishes his opponent's only monster from his graveyard, and it's going to double its original attack in the process. Clearly, he has game on board, but essentially, if you can play against if you're playing against a combo deck, you only need to protect the Wind Barrier statue for 1 turn, because even if you don't have game on board, you're probably going to summon this from your deck during your opponent's end phase, and then the game's just over. You have 3 monsters on field. They all have basically like a little bit of lockdown / disruption, and you're going to be able to kill your opponent. And I know that people will say, well, what about if you're not playing against a combo deck? If you're not playing against a combo deck, you still are going to turbo out your Link monster, but instead of summoning the Wind Barrier statue, that's when you just go for the Dark Simorgh, which has a built-in Spell and Trap negation. So if you're playing against Guru or Sky Striker, Spell and Trap negation is going to be better than special summoning lockdown. So Simorgh kind of has both angles covered. Like, the deck is just so much better now. Now, yeah, the deck is completely, like, it is basically like Simorgh Link Turbo, but it's perfectly fine. Like if your opponent doesn't have Ash Blossom or I guess Ghost Ogre to stop it, you're basically just going to run all over them. Anyways, let me show you guys what the deck looks like on paper. The monster lineup, as you can see, really hasn't changed that much with Simorgh. You're still maxing out on all the little Simorghs. The only thing that changed is that these monsters are just so much better. It used to be there was nothing good to link summon. You know, you'd have to go like Great Fly Pass or, you know, really crappy plays. But now that the Simorgh link monster is a thing, you're going to play multiple copies of that and it's a win condition. So like the Foolish Burial Simorgh, the one that gives you an additional normal summon, these cards are just so much better. Now, I will say this, and this is just my personal recommendation. When I used to play Simorgh, I always ran Pot of Extravagance in the extra deck because the extra deck didn't matter with Simorgh. I still think Extravagance works in this deck. Now, if you activate Extravagance and you banish all 3 copies of your king, you're going to lose. I don't think that this deck can win without the Simorgh Link monster. Not consistently anyway. You have to like cheese your opponent with Harpy Featherstorm or something like that. Like if you're playing against Orcus and you turn 1 like Harpy's Featherstorm them and then you can like Featherstorm them again, that's pretty much as a thought for 2 turns. Like, yeah, you might be able to like cheese a victory, but generally speaking, you need this card. Personally, like in this build, I would drop the 2 trade-ins because, I mean, trade-in's good. You have a lot of level 8s, but Extravagance is just like a better version of trade-in, and if it gets Ash, you lose obviously a lot less. I would drop those 2, and I would drop the original Simorgh. And then I would put the extravagances in. Also, even if you didn't want Spell and Trap negation, let's say you were playing against like a burn deck, you can summon Dart Simorgh from your deck as well. Like that's just, and then neither player can like set any cards. Imagine that against Ultrageist. Like you just summoning the Dart Simorgh from your deck. Now your opponent can't they can't set any cards on the field. Basically, it's like, oh, you don't have Miluseek? All right, you lose the game. Like the Simorgh deck is so much better with the, I mean, it's not going to have the competitive effect because all these other decks that got like 1 extra deck monster and became tier 0, Spiral, Gladiator Beast, it won't be that level, but it's going to have the same type of impact. Like Simorgh went from a deck that's like tier 4 to a deck that's like probably tier 2. Like it's gonna jump up like 2 full tiers just because of this card. It does so much for this deck. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the quick duel. If you guys want to mess around with this deck, again, this is the deck profile. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.